Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
So, Ronnie, you are the representative for the film of Death in Texas today.
That's right.
So tell us about the film and coming to it, and why was Las Cruces a great place to shoot for this particular production, in your opinion?
Well, the film was called Death in Texas, and it's set in El Paso, Texas. And our financier, save the fact that this El Paso is all over the script. Our financier was really insistent that El Paso is a character in the movie. So the thing is, when we went to I guess a couple weeks before pre-production, we went out there and to El Paso. Our producers went out there, our other producers, and we just weren't seeing a lot of the the crew. I think all respect to the crew that exists out there. I think that we were a little overpromised on the crew out there. The infrastructure, Texas is such a large state. If we're bringing crew in from Austin, let's say, that's a good 11, 12-hour drive. That's split the difference between LA and El Paso and El Paso and Austin. So it just wasn't something that was kind of panning out that was feasible to us. So thankfully, our producer got in touch with some people from Las Cruces, and we were able to pivot to Las Cruces and thus shoot 90% of our film in Las Cruces, take advantage of the tax incentives, and still the 10% of the film that needed to be those exteriors, of El Paso that our investor was, so adamant about us keeping. We were able to shoot there.
Where'd you shoot specifically?
In El Paso or Las Cruces?
No, in Las Cruces.
We shot a lot at the soundstage. We had a hospital. The soundstage was huge for us. And then we had some practical locations for my house, and my Laura Flynn Boyle plays my mother. She's fantastic in it. And we had a house that I'm not too familiar with. I was out there for 6 weeks, but it was pretty extraordinary. It was great, and the crew out there was great. And what we couldn't find in Las Cruces, we brought in from Albuquerque, and it was and I'll also say that Albuquerque's fantastic, and this is obviously the hub of shooting. But one thing that was unique to our story was that we had elements of the border and cartel elements, and it was a West Texas story. So we were able to cheat so much for West Texas, El Paso. So it was just a blessing in disguise, because Texas, they might have a 10% tax rebate, but so it just wasn't doable, So. Feel very blessed that we were able to pivot, because when the producer called, and said, "Hey, I think we're going to have to pivot," I thought the idea was insane, But looking back, it might not have come to fruition if we would not have done it. So,
was this your first production that you've done here in New Mexico, or were there others?
I shot a movie called The Wave. We shot in Albuquerque 2 years ago with Justin Long and Donald Faison. It's out now. And it's a really cool film, and yeah, that was great.
Whereabouts was that?
Here in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque.
And the Little and White Sands. Yeah.
And then shooting your independent film. Tell us about how Las Cruces helped in getting it off the ground and the ease that they brought to you.
Yeah, absolutely. We shot a film called Walking with Herb in Las Cruces. About 95% of the production was filmed in Las Cruces, and it's actually a golf film. So Las Cruces has some great golf courses. But this was quite a unique situation, because not only was the film shot in Las Cruces, a lot of it was financed out of Las Cruces. So we actually had access to some private equity funding. So in many ways, it was this community project, right? And really what I can say, the advantage of filming in Las Cruces is the community is so excited to get film out there. So when you go there, they will literally roll out the red carpet for you. So we were able to get cheaper free locations. We were able to get incredible hotel and catering rates. And there is it's a smaller town, of course, but there still is this, there's this level of hospitality that works for some larger above-the-line cast and crew as well. So I'm just a big advocate for going down there. And as John Foley said, it's one of, if not the only place in the state where you can take advantage of a full 35% tax rebate if you're shooting in their facility, because you get 5 for rural, 5 for facility on top of the 25. So 35% back on your dollar, that's hard to beat.
And you had 3 major stars in the movie. Tell us more about the movie. Edward James Olmos.
Yeah, we had Edward James Olmos and George Lopez, and essentially Edward James Olmos plays this aging banker who has recently lost his grandchild tragically, and he kind of forsakes his relationship with religion. And George Lopez shows up kind of as an angel and tells him that, as a 65-year-old man, I am going to help you win the biggest golf tournament in the world. And Edward James Olmos is like, sure, I think I'll throw out my back if I even try. So the film is essentially about Edward James Olmos becoming an amazing golfer while finding his faith.
And as far as like you're saying, there was an ease with lodging down there, even though it's considered rural. Did you bring in trailers? Did you book all the hotels in town?
Sure. So, we had to bring a lot from Albuquerque. Of course, this is the production hub, so our Star Wagons, a lot of our transpo equipment came from Albuquerque, but it was really no problem because you drive it down, it's 3 hours, and then it's there for the run of the show. And, I was telling you, yes, this was a community project. It was financed out of Las Cruces, but as I'm sure you experienced, your film was out of LA, I'm assuming, developed out of LA, and I'm sure you got the same treatment. Because
100%. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's remarkable.
And the attitude of the cast and the crew specifically, like how.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, I find that's kind of the blessing of going into any town that's outside of the big markets is there's a magic. The circus comes to town, and everyone wants to be a part of it. And I remember the first time I grew up in Houston. I remember. RoboCop came to town, and that was my first experience on seeing a movie come to town, and it was everything. It was like I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, So Las Cruces gave us that and the resources in which they might not have had. I mean, again, it's 3 hours away, so it was more the state of New Mexico. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it was really overwhelming to see. And you saw that you saw that on the line item too, when the discounts we were getting for this, that, and the other. So
yeah, absolutely. And I am a product of New Mexico State University in Las Cruces. I went to the film school there, and I have seen the training that the students get, and there really are some top quality crew there. And I would piggyback off of that and say there are also some top quality above-the-line filmmakers there. I see a lot of creative content, of course, coming out of Albuquerque and Santa Fe, but Las Cruces has some great creators as well. So I hope you guys would look into that.
Can you speak a little bit about private equity financing for film production in the state? Is there an excitement here? I have a friend. He's an indie producer, and he was able to launch a few big films off of. He's originally from North Dakota, and he was working with North Dakota real estate guys who are interested in getting in the film business. Is there that excitement here, or is it still kind of growing? Or are they suspicious?
No, there very much is this excitement, and real estate people in oil and gas, other industries that really have thrived in New Mexico for a long time, those people are now seeing what an economic opportunity film can be for them. So what I've really found is that private equity financing for independent film in New Mexico is becoming a really good path to get some things made and hopefully make some money for the investors here in New Mexico while helping the cast and crews that come out of this state. So, things like this, Deadline Hotspots, helps legitimize this industry to people who may not have known about it beforehand.
And guys, can you tell us where we can find your movies right now?
Well, we're actually in the middle of the edit of our film, so it's going to be a while. But if I'm being realistic, I'd say the beginning of this next year. You know, we're still nuancing the edit. So, yeah.
Walking with Herb is in talks with a distribution deal I can't disclose, but we're looking at a release in summer or fall of this year.
Excellent. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Take care.
I appreciate it.